I used to think budgeting meant tracking every single coffee purchase like some sort of psychopath. Turns out, millionaires don't even do that at all. They have a completely different system that's actually simpler. And it's the reason why they're rich while the rest of us are wondering where our paycheck went. Let me show you what's changed everything for me. 3 years ago, I sat down with my friend Henry for lunch. He drives a 2012 Honda Civic, wears normal clothes, lives in a regular apartment. I assume we were in the same financial boat. Then he casually mentioned that he has just hit $400,000 in investments at 31 years old. I literally choked on my food. We made similar money. I was at $78K while he was at $82K. But I had $12,000 saved and a credit card balance. He had nearly half the million invested. What was I doing wrong? My budget back then was 35% spent in housing, 30% on wants, 25% on needs, and 10% in savings. While Henry's budget was 22% on housing, 10% in wants, 28% on other needs, and 40% on investments. On a $6,500 monthly income, I was saving $650, while he was saving $2,600. Over the 3 years, I'd saved $23,000, while he'd saved $93,000. It had grown to $127,000 just from market returns. When he showed me his investment account, I felt physically sick, not jealous. Sick that I wasted those 3 years. If you're feeling like that right now, good. That feeling is what changes everything. And here's what really hits me. We had the exact same income. The only difference was the system. I am Ario Choi. I went from broke and clueless to building actual wealth by copying what wealthy people actually do, not what broke people think wealthy people do. If you want to know real strategies, subscribe. Now let me show you the system that changed my life. After that lunch session reality check, Henry explained his system. It's stupidly simple, which is why it actually works. Here's what I used to do. Get paid, pay rent, buy groceries, pay bills, go out to eat, buy random stuff, check account at the end of the month, and save whatever is left. That's usually $200 to $400. But here's what Henry did. He gets paid, he automatically transfers $2,600 to his investment accounts the same second. Live on the rest. He literally set it up so money moved automatically on payday, before he could see it, before he could spend it, before he could talk himself out of it. The first time I tried this, I set up $1,500 automatic transfer for payday. That morning, I woke up, checked my account, and panicked. There's only $3,200 left for the whole month. I can't do this. I almost canceled it. Then I remembered, I've been comfortably spending $5,000 plus monthly and had nothing to show for it. What if I just tried living on less? The first month was tight. I meal prepped instead of ordering Uber Eats. I said no to happy hours. I watched YouTube instead of going out to the movies. And honestly, I barely noticed it after 2 weeks. But that $1,500, it was still there, growing. For the first time in my adult life, I was building something. The tools that made it possible. I tried tracking every expense for a month, lasted actually 4 days before I gave up. Instead, I made a custom financial tracker. I had set up an automatic transfer, and I had weekly check-ins every Sunday, about 5 minutes just looking at my net worth going up. And that's it. No spreadsheets, no receipt tracking, just make savings automatic and watch the numbers grow. Let me tell you about the dumbest financial decision I ever made. After college, I got my first real job at $65,000. Know what I did? I signed a lease for $2,100 a month apartment. I thought I worked hard and I deserved it. This is what successful people do. $2,100 a month is $25,000 a year, and that's 39% of my gross income. The wealthy people cap housing at 25%, but I was spending 39%. That's an extra 14%, which is $9,100 per year. Invested over 25 years, that becomes $300,000 that I lit on fire for just having a nicer kitchen. What I should have done is found myself a $1,300 a month place, which is about 25% of my income. It would have been perfectly fine, just not Instagram worthy. Nobody's retirement account ever said, "But remember that granite countertop?" My $2,100 apartment had fancy gym, concierge, rooftop, lounge, stainless steel everything, and crippling monthly payments. While my friend Sarah's apartment, which is $1,400, is an older building but still clean, had normal appliances, and actual money in her investment account. And she retired at 54. And cars? Don't even get me started. My other friend recently bought a $50,000 BMW SUV because he said he'll have it for 10 years. He's paying $700 a month. And over 10 years, that's about $70,000 with interest paid for something that's only going to be worth $12,000. Meanwhile, Henry drives a 12 years old paid off Civic that's worth $15,000. And that $700 my friend is paying monthly, Henry invests it. In 10 years, at 8% returns, that becomes $127,000. I know what you're thinking, but I don't want to live like a broke college student. Neither do I. But here's the thing, wealthy people make these choices voluntarily. They could afford luxury apartments and a new car. They choose not to because they'd rather have the freedom than stuff. Remember Henry with $400,000 at 31 years old? Let me show you why that number is absolutely insane. If he does nothing else, doesn't add a single dollar from now, and lets it grow at 8% annually, at age 40 he'll have $800,000. At 50 he would have $1.73 million. At 60 he would have $3.73 million, and at 65 he would have $5.47 million. He's essentially already a multi-millionaire at 31. He just has to wait for time to do its thing. Meanwhile, my story, at 28 I had $12,000 saved. If I had stopped adding money, at 65 I'd only have $176,000. That's not retirement, that's panic. But here's where it gets interesting. The moment I implemented Henry's system, everything's changed. I started investing $2,000 a month, which is 30% of my income. 3 years later, I have $87,000 invested. And if I keep it up, by age 40, I will have $300,000. By age 50, I would have $1.12 million. By 60, I would have $2.73 million. And at 65, I would have $4 million. Same job, same life, just different choices about where money goes. The first year was hard. I watched my friends go on expensive vacations while I stayed at home. They bought new cars while I drove my paid-off 2021 Toyota. I felt like I was missing out. Then I checked my investment account after 12 months. $28,000, more than what I'd saved in the previous 5 years combined. That feeling, watching that number grow, is better than any vacation I've ever taken. Every dollar you spend today costs you $21.72 in retirement money, assuming 8% returns over 40 years. That $6 latte is actually going to cost you $130. that $50,000 new car is actually going to cost you $1 million. Once you see this money this way, spending it on random things becomes physically painful. Time for an embarrassing confession. At 26, I had $8,400 in credit card debt at 22% interest rate. I also had a $15,000 car loan at 6% interest. And I had $0 in investments. I was paying $185 a month in credit card interest alone. That's $2,200 per year just to own debt. Not even paying it off, just surfacing it. And here's the turning point. Henry sat me down and explained to me like this. You're paying 22% interest on that credit card. The stock market averages 10% returns. Even if you invested and got lucky, you will still lose 12% annually. You're literally choosing to be poor. So I had a debt destruction plan. On the first 8 months, every extra dollar goes to that credit card. And then on the 9th and to 12th month, I had a snowball method, paid off the car loan. And on month 13, finally I was debt-free. The month I made that final payment, I redirected those $700 of payments straight to investments. And suddenly I was investing $2,000 a month instead of paying banks. Here's the wealthy person's debt rules. They only use debt for things that make them money, such as real estate that generates rental income, business loans that clear ROI, or mortgages on primary residence, because rent doesn't build equity. And they should never use debt for vacations, wedding, cars, restaurants and lifestyles, and anything that loses value. Comment debt-free if you're going to eliminate toxic debt this year. I really want to see who's serious. Becoming debt-free is feeling like it's getting a massive raise, because it was. I had $700 a month suddenly available. That's $8,300 annual raise, except I didn't have to negotiate for it. I just had to stop making dumb choices. Last year, I got promoted from making $78K to $95K, a $17,000 raise. Know what my brain immediately did? I started shopping. I should get better apartment. I deserve a new car. I can finally afford nice restaurants. If I had done all that, my new raise would have cost me $1,200 a month, meaning I'd actually saved $2,600 less than before. What I actually did is I increased my lifestyle spending by exactly $400 a month, and the other $1,000 went straight to automatic investments. That single raise, handled correctly, added $12,000 to my investment account. And over 30 years at 8%, that one raise decision creates an extra $1.2 million. My coworker got the same raise as I did, but he immediately bought a BMW 3 Series with a payment of $850 a month. He's broken a nice car, and I'm building generational wealth in a 2021 Toyota. Who made the better choice? Every time your income increases, immediately automate 70 to 80% of that raise into investments before your brain adjusts. Allow yourself 20 to 30% lifestyle upgrade. You're a human, reward yourself. You may ask, okay, this sounds great, but I'm overwhelmed. Where do I actually start? I felt the same way, and here's exactly what I did week by week. Week 1, I logged into my bank account, exported 3 months of transactions, calculated my actual saving rates, which was about 7.8%. I felt nauseous, but you can't fix what you don't measure, right? On week 2, I opened a high-yield savings account from banks. That could be Wealthsimple, EQ Bank, or whatever bank you use. Set up an automatic transfer of 20% of my paycheck to happen on payday. Started with 20 because 40% seemed a bit impossible and I needed time to adjust. And within 6 months, I was at 35%. On week 3, I did a house audit. I calculated the housing as percentage of gross income. Mine was about 39%. Knew I couldn't break my lease, so I decided when it's up, I'm going to find a place that's at 25% or less. That decision alone created $750 a month in savings. And then on week 4, I went through my credit card statements. I canceled my gym membership that I only used twice a month. I canceled Netflix, Disney Plus, and all that stuff that I don't watch. And as well, I canceled Spotify and some random apps that I use for exercise. And in total, I saved about $100 a month. After week 5, just keep going. I checked my net worth every Sunday, watched it grow, felt the motivation build, and after 2 months, I'd saved more than previous 8 months combined. The hardest part was saying no to friends. They say, oh, let's go to that expensive restaurant. Let's go to Vegas. I became that boring friend. 2 years later, I have $87,000 invested, while they have Instagram, photos, and debt. Well, some of you may say, oh, I only make $45,000. This is not going to work for me. Wrong. The percentage matters, not the dollar amount. At $45,000 income, if you save 25%, which is $11,000 a year, starting at age 25, at age 65, you'll still have $3.27 million. That's a retired comfortable money. Oh, but I can't barely pay my bills right now. Fair, then let's start with 10% savings rate initially. Attack any debt that's over 7% interest aggressively. And focus on increasing incomes such as doing some side hustles, increasing your skills and career advancements, and gradually increase saving by 1% monthly. And at $150,000 income, you should have no excuses. You should be saving 40 to 50%. If you're not, you're choosing lifestyle over freedom. At 45% savings, if you have that kind of money, you have $67,000 a year. You can retire in 15 years, not 40 years. I know people making $150K who are broke. I know people who are making $55K who are building wealth. Income helps, but it's the system that matters. The system is what separates the wealthy from the well-paid. Here's my challenge to you. Not someday, starting right now. This week, open up your banking app, calculate your actual saving rates from last month, not what you think it is, what it actually is. Income minus all the spending divided by income. Drop that percentage in the comments, even if it's negative, especially if it is negative. No judgments, just accountability. And then next week, set up one automatic transfer, even if it's just $100. The amount doesn't matter, the automation does. Once it's automatic, you've beaten the hardest part yourself. Download the budget template that I made for you in the description. It has the exact same formulas that I use. And track your net worth weekly and watch the numbers go up. Get addicted to that feeling. If you do this for 90 days and really do it, not half committed, your entire financial future changes. I went from $12,000 saved at 28 to $87,000 at 31. Same job, same city, same person, just different system. 3 years ago, I sat at lunch feeling sick about my finances. But today, I'm on track to retire at 52 with $4 million. Not because I'm special or smart, because I copied what wealthy people actually do. You know what's wild? Henry still drives that same Honda Civic, and still lives in a modest apartment, and still wears regular clothes. But he just bought his second rental property and his investment account hit $600,000 at 34. Meanwhile, the people who made fun of his cheap lifestyle are still living paycheck to paycheck in expensive apartments with nice cars. Who's actually winning? Hit like if this was valuable, and subscribe because next week I'm going to share more strategies on how to save money. Remember, you don't need to be wealthy to start budgeting like the wealthy. You budget like the wealthy to become wealthy. Start today, and your future self will thank you.